in Dallas. Pretty awesome weather. Alright, so we are going to do a live on O-1 visa today. And howdy folks, where are you guys logging in from? So I'm gonna invite my friend from Shamayev Business Law, Stanislav. He's an awesome attorney. I'm adding him. Excuse me. Hello.
Hey, Omar.
Hi, Stanislav. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, let me
Alright,
see.
awesome.
Let me switch to. Can you hear me now? Can
I
you see me?
can hear you perfectly. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Glad to see you, Omar, because I heard you saying that you're like around 50 degrees. I'm
Oh yeah.
currently in Colombia, in Medellin, and it's about 75, probably 77 degrees.
Oh
So
nice.
getting a
Oh
little bit,
wow. Okay,
yeah,
you're down
yeah,
south. You
beautiful
you you
weather.
ran from the cold weather coming next week. All right.
I know it was the last week called and next last week next week, so yeah, I'm trying to escape that.
Oh, got it. Okay. Wow. Okay, yeah. Oh, I have not been there yet. Yeah, how do you like it
You
there?
must. It's awesome. I believe Colombia is one of the best countries to travel, and I've been
Mhm.
to a lot of countries in the world. And this country offers you everything that you need: the scenic views, beautiful food, a lot of sightseeing, and very cheap. And people are
Yeah.
friendly. So just beautiful country to travel and go to different parts of it.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Well, I'll check it out. Yeah. I've seen the Medellin this thing, Well, they say it a little bit different, and so I've seen some movies and stuff like that, talking about
Right.
that, and the things
Right.
that used to
Things
happen there,
changed. Things changed a lot. Yeah, that thing is in the past. Now it's like civilized, really, with law and order country. So yeah,
Exactly, yeah. So I think some fans are here of those movies, yeah.
for
So,
sure.
but thank you so much for joining us, Stanislav, today. Really excited to talk about O1 visa, especially now that the H1B lottery is coming. I have been getting a lot of questions about it, like, hey, Omkar, this is my third attempt or this is my second attempt, and I want to start looking at options
Yeah.
for an H1B.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to, just add value to people and see how we can guide them on O1 visa. So thanks for your
Absolutely.
time. I appreciate you being here.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it, Stanislav. I want to ask you, like, so O1, like, can you give us a little bit background about O1 visa? Like, who can qualify for an O1 visa? Like, do you need a master's degree? Do you have to be in US or in India or any other country? How does it work really
Yeah.
for O1? Can you
So
explain?
no degree is required for O1 actually, and
Okay.
this is I think one of the biggest advantages over H1B, where you not only have to have the degree, but you have to have the certain degree, right?
Hmm.
And not gonna discuss the right now the lottery component and all that. So no degree required. You could be in the US, you could be outside of the US. There's no problem. So basically, in my opinion, almost everybody can get O1, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you put the effort into that. There are two views on that: the
Got it.
official from the book and
Mm-hmm.
my view on that. So official from the book, you have to have really a lot of recognition, like big achievements, like expressed talent, documented talent,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of things that are really beyond this world if you think about that.
Yeah.
So that's the official look by the law. In reality, and that's my view, O1 is one of the easiest visas to get approved, and it's not only my view. It's supported by 99% chance of approval with my company on this type of visa. So uh, pretty much anyone from business, IT,
Mm-hmm.
science, sports, art, education can get approval for O-1 visa.
Got it.
All you need to do is to have an employer in the US, just like H-1B, right? And that's
Okay.
why we're talking about O-1 as an alternative to H-1B, because that means that we already have an employer.
Got it.
Right? And that's
Got
the
it.
biggest blocker or stopper for anyone to move towards O-1. With this being said, important to understand that O-1 employer could be your own company.
Okay.
Okay. So that's really exciting, because for H-1B, by the way, you also may use your own company, but there's a lot more requirements to get that through. O-1 does not get that stringent requirements, so it's much easier to get that done, especially if we fail the lottery for H-1B.
Got it. Okay. So a couple of questions around that, Stanislav. So let's say, you know what, I am in US and I have, let's say, you know, most of my clients or most of my followers, you know, they are on, they're here for a master's degree, you know, or maybe some of them are here for an undergrad. So let's say a master's degree, and maybe you have 1 year of experience, 2 years of experience, or, you know, you're an undergrad, you know, and a couple of years of experience. So how would these people qualify for that? Like, you know, let's say they have an employer who's maybe, you know, they don't want to pay for that. You know, sometimes employers don't want to pay for that. You know, they want people to pursue themselves. So can I pursue this visa myself without the help of my employer?
Absolutely. Well, so if they're ready to sign the petition that's already prepared by someone, there's no issue here. So in your particular example, where someone with master's degree and maybe 1-2 years of experience in the US, presumably, those are really good candidates for O-1. Why? Because they already have a critical or leading role in a company with distinguished reputation. And why I know those companies have distinguished reputations, because usually only good big companies are ready to sponsor someone for H-1B, right? So that means that they mean something naturally in the industry. So that's one criterion. Number two, oftentimes either the offered salary or the current salary are above the average in the industry. So that could be easily the second criterion. Further, either there is an association, the professional association that's, let's say for IT people, right? Or engineers. There's a bunch of professional associations that qualify for O-1 visa. So that could be the third criteria. And 3 criteria is all we need by the law. We always want to get as much as possible, right? So let's say we have these 3, which is not always the case, but a lot of times. So we can always add the media and academic articles if our clients work with the PR agencies who are our partners and help our clients to establish those 2 criteria. So just right off the bat, in those examples that you gave me, we can get someone up to 5, maybe even 6 criteria to get them approved for O-1 visa.
Got it. Okay. That's really, that's good to know that your team can actually help with that, you know, because sometimes people are really unsure how to get like media and stuff like that. And then, you know, having somebody direct them really helps them. Another question I have, Stanislav, here is, how much time should I plan for it? Like, you know, some people are like, oh, my visa is ending in 6 months, or some of them are actually done their visas. They have done 3 attempts and they're going back to school now on J1 CPT, or like, you know, they are studying there, you know. And so how does that work now, Stanislav? How much time should I plan if I have a couple of years of experience, let's say?
Sure. So the average case that I pick up lasts for 6 months. Right. So we definitely need to plan to get that time for the visa. And because in your examples, people are already in the US, which means that we can change the F1 status or OPT status to O1, and it happens immediately on the approval of the petition, right? So if we prepare the case for 6 months, then file for expedited processing approval of I-129 form, and that's going to be approved within 2 weeks, which means that we can start working immediately. If we have someone outside of the US, for whatever reason, maybe they never came to the US or they went to school, failed H-1B lottery, then came back, it's 6 months plus 2. 2 months for the embassy to get that visa stamped in the passport, and then come back to the US.
Okay, makes sense. Okay. Couple of questions around that. I think a lot of people are asking me questions about, like, what kind of profile you need. So, like, usually, Stanislav, what I've noticed is if you're working with like Department of Transportation or government agencies, that adds a lot of value towards O-1 as well, because you're like kind of working towards like government or like really supporting the US directly, like healthcare workers. Does that add value, like, to your profile in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. It does not in the law, right? The law is silent about working for government or anybody else. They don't differentiate between those things. But when the immigration officer sees that it's either a big company, not necessarily a government company, or it's a government or some non-for-profit organization, then of course they tend to have more loyal treatment of those petitions. I mean, in our case, it doesn't really matter because my petitions all get approved, right? But still, when you have put that little zest in the petition, that always works good.
Okay. All right, interesting. Okay. All right. So the another question I have is, like, what are the best strategies for building a strong case for an O-1 visa, and then how does your team help students to do that, and so, or like professionals to do that?
Yeah. So because my company is very much process oriented and the client oriented, the way we do this, we have a few steps how these things develop. Step number 1, you have to get the free evaluation, right? And I guess you're going to mention that to your followers, how to get that thing done. So the free evaluation is a very important step in building the strategy of the case, because that allows me to see whether the case has the potential at this stage, and it allows a potential client to know without paying a penny for this thing, to know if they have the case, right? So it's a win-win. There's no way around it. It's a win-win. So you fill out the application, I look at it, I come back to you and say, hey, you have a potential to get this thing done within the next 6 months. So that's the first step. The second step is the complex immigration planning, the service where in 2 phases. Phase number 1, you meet with a data manager who sucks out everything out of you from your childhood traumas up to today's education. So they get it together in the protocol, and I use that to build the actual strategy, how we're going to develop the case. And the strategy has a lot of information, but the highlight is the grade of the case. It's the criteria that we already met, and the criteria we know we will be able to improve on.
Got it.
Okay. So that's the second huge leap to understand what it's going to entail to get that thing done. And the third last step, when the client hires my team and myself, then we go even deeper in the strategy. We break it down by the deadlines throughout the 5 months of working with my team on the descriptive documents in the petition. Once the evidentiary base is ready in 5 months, I'll start drafting the memorandum that's going to be approved in 15 days after the filing of the case.
Got it. Okay. So you're filing all these cases in premium so that we get it right away then.
Because I kind of actually force my clients to pay extra to the government to get that expedited processing, not because I want that. I'm thinking something. It's because if we don't do this, the approval may come in 5-6 months, sometimes even longer. So I don't think it's worth wait for so long when you can pay extra like $2,800 and get it within 2 weeks and start working and cover the expenses that you did in the past.
Got it. Okay, perfect. All right, that's really nice to know, Stanislav. Stanislav, I have a question. Like, okay, let's say, like Okay, you mentioned people can get a evaluation, free evaluation. So folks, if you want to get your a free evaluation, I have added a link in the bio for you to connect with Stanislav's team. First of all, thank you for providing that free evaluation. Usually it costs like $150 when I'm connecting my clients to some of the attorneys or some of the coaches. It's a little bit expensive, but I appreciate your team doing that. And then
Absolutely.
yeah, like and I really like the fact also, like, your team does let them honestly know that, hey, you don't qualify.
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people I have seen like reaching out to me that, hey, Stanislav's team said you don't qualify, can you help me? And so they have to go build a little bit more experience and come back to you. And then so really appreciate that. So folks, you can just click on the link, submit your profile, and they'll get back to you. Usually, how long will it take for them to get back to you?
Usually it's up to 2 days,
Okay. Okay.
right? So it could be really fast because it depends on how much work I get this particular day, because usually I do it in the evenings.
Got it.
So up to 2 days. And actually, thank you, Omkar, giving the feedback on this process. It kind of, one thing when the actual person who's doing this saying that, but then somebody else from the side objectively judging what's happening. And it's true, I do not take cases. I don't even invite someone to the complex immigration planning, which is 350, right, which you
Yeah.
have to pay money on the second step. I don't do this unless I really see the potential in the case. And the potential in the case means that within 6 months we can improve, pack it up, send, and get at least 90% chance of approval. With O-1, it's 99 chances
Got
of
it.
approval. So that's how we work. We're really transparent with that.
Got it. Okay. That's really awesome. Thank you so much. I actually do have some of my followers who are like working with your team, and I have heard good feedback. One of the best feedback I've gotten is like your team is very responsive, like, they're on top of that, and stuff like that. So I really appreciate that. And then, just that helps a lot. Like, people have a lot of anxiety, especially around
Mm-hmm.
their visa, and they're
Of course.
used for their companies, Stanislav, not to respond. I'm fortunate to work in a good company, but I worked at companies where my HR wouldn't respond for 2 weeks, three
Oh
weeks,
my
and the
God, this
attorneys
is
wouldn't respond
terrible.
for a month. And so people are dying here, of their visa issues, so yeah. And so one question I also have, Stanislav, is the big news is, let's address the elephant in the room. Trump is coming this year, and people are really scared what's going to
Yeah.
happen with H1B, H4 visas. There are a lot of wives in America who are not able to work, Stanislav, but they have worked in India for a couple of years and stuff like that. So I want to ask you, how can they take advantage of O1? And will this change anything for Owen? Him coming in.
Yeah. So I do believe this is a valid concern about the upcoming administration. However, I believe that that's coming from misinformation and kind of propaganda from the other side of this equation. I
Mm,
do believe, and not only me, pretty much all attorneys are kind of on agreement that legal immigration is not bipartisan issue.
mm,
It's just not. Both parties are on agreement that we do need legal immigration, and there's no fight over that. Okay, oh, we're gonna cancel EB2 and IW. I hear sometimes.
mm.
Look, no one in this sound mind will ever cancel EB2 and IW, because you're gonna stop the import of the most qualified people from the world. Who will
Yeah,
do this? No one. So all this conversation and all these myths and legends about Trump shutting, no, that's not happening. It's not happening for O1. It's not happening for EB2 and IW, H1B, and all those programs. On top of that,
mm,
and if your car track closely what happens on X Twitter, right?
yeah,
And all that. Actually, what they're saying, they want to support H1B, right?
yeah,
They want that program to evolve. And I think that the way they're going to evolve this program, and they kind of say it out loud, it's not even my thoughts, they want to remove the lottery from it. Okay?
mm,
So why they want to do this? Because they want to make it merit-based visa,
yeah.
basically, right?
Got
So
it.
now when it's gonna happen, I don't think it's gonna happen this year. There's too short of the time, but for the
Yeah, very true.
following year, there's a good chance we're not gonna have a lottery for H1B ever again. The way it's
Got
gonna
it.
happen, nobody knows, but I believe there would be like a point system for
Mm.
coming from the employers, and if a particular candidate hits all the points, he get automatically approved, right?
Got
So
it.
and I think this is great news because it removes that uncertainty that we have with this program right now. Moreover, what Musk said is that they want to make sure that highly skilled professionals, think EB2 or
Yeah.
EB3, right? We want them faster in the US.
Okay.
Okay? That's what they say. Now, Stanislav is going to translate what it actually means. The
Mm.
only way to get people faster on EB2 and EB3 to the US is to either remove all the limits on the amount of green cards in one fiscal year
Got it.
or expand it. Right now,
Mm.
we have about 200,000 visas available in EB2 category.
Got
That's
it.
why Indians have such a huge backlog
Very
because
true.
they used all the available green cards from the future available to Indians, which have 7% limit by country, right?
Very
So
true.
7% out of the 200,000, you do your math, what is it, like
14,000. Yeah. 14,000
14,000,
Vietnamese. Yeah.
14,000. So there are a lot more Indians than 14,000 with EB2 approvals. That's why they grab from the future, and that's how backlog forms, right?
Got it.
So if they increase the limit by a factor of 2, making it 400,000, that's gonna help a lot, not only to
Mm.
Indians but everybody else. I think they should also reconsider the limit, the 7% limit to the country. I
Got
think
it.
there should still be a limit, but maybe a little bit higher,
Understand.
just because one country is filing so many petitions. I don't think they should be sanctioned so badly to get such a huge backlog. So that means that we're gonna have a lot of changes in the immigration field, and all of them, I believe, are gonna be beneficial
Yeah.
to people with higher education, professional skills, and recognition in the field.
Got it. That's good to know. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your views, because what happens is I follow Elon on X, and I read a lot. I love to read articles about H1B. That's my job, and so it's been a lot of debate, and then I see things a little bit differently. But then a lot of people are thinking that on X is usually you see negative first. You don't see the positive first. And
Right,
so you know how
right.
it
Because
is, and
that's
so
what
people are.
creates engagement. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, people are really scared about that. And so hearing that from you really helps us. So, okay. All right. So, I think somebody asked a question, guys. There is a link in the bio. You don't have to DM me. There's a link in the bio. And so you can just apply for a free evaluation there. Okay. I have last question for you, Stanislav. I want to know, is there other tips for O1 visa? Like, I know you guys have a really high approval rate, above 99%.
Yeah.
How do you guys do that? Like, are there any tips which you can give us? Like, why are you guys so successful at it? What's different about you guys?
Uh, for a few reasons. The main reason, because we put the heart and the soul in our petitions, right?
Got
I
it.
think that's because that reflects, right? When the immigration officer opens the petition, like there's a holy light coming out of it. So that makes a lot of sense. That's number one and the main reason. But because we have filed hundreds
Mm,
upon
mm,
hundreds upon hundreds petitions, we know exactly what they want,
got it.
how they want it, and how they want the evidentiary base being structured for the case. So
Got it.
basically, and very important thing, because we have a lot of petitions, like just last December we filed 50 cases.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
last December 50 cases. That's a lot. And one case is like this, like 1,500 pages.
Yeah.
So we know the trends. Okay,
Got it.
we know what changes in the perception of the particular petition. Also, we are very deadline and result oriented. and we provide all the tools for a client to be successful in his or her petition. There's only one requirement for that. You guys gotta do the work. Okay, there's no way around it.
Yeah.
There's like different ways how to do this, but
Very
the
true.
work must be done. Okay,
Alright.
so we have the
Good.
team that attached to the case that works under my control. We go by the deadlines, and at every single second of the working the case, the client knows exactly what he needs to be doing, what is team doing on the case, and what the progress of the case overall. Okay,
Got it.
so because we have the processes, great teams, great understanding, and all the tools to get those things done, and we put the soul and the heart, right, the 5 things, that's what that makes those petitions work.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think I was talking to your team the other day, and it felt like you guys have put the Rubik's Cube together.
Right.
It's the process have been this thing, and I really
Yes.
like a couple of things. They were telling me, I was asking tough questions there because one of my clients was working with you guys, and they are very afraid, and so they are like, oh, so I have 6 months, and I had to just let them know, like, don't worry about it, just have faith, and you'll get there. And so I was just asking some questions, and it's good to know that you guys have figured out a process. There's like a method to the madness, and that's very
Right.
critical. I think that's the most important.
Yeah.
So
And this let me tell you this, Samkar. I had this Indian client. We got him approved for EB1A. That's the next
nice.
step after O-1,
Yeah.
right? Like in December. His name is funny. It's a funny name,
Yeah,
right?
it's PHANI. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's PH. Yeah, it's a nice Indian name, like very, very easy to remember. So he's a biomedical engineer, right? Who was also an H1B, and he got his EB2 approved back in 2019. So once we got him approved, we substituted the priority dates. We filed already 485 for him, so he's waiting for his green cards, right?
Yeah.
But when I called him to congratulate him on his approval of EB1A, he was madly happy, first of all, but he told me this. He said, Stanislav, I know you're a great attorney. Your team is just amazing. Your process is great. I read the memorandum. It was like beyond this world. But until I saw that email on my box, I didn't believe it. I was like, how?
Yeah, it's hard to
There's
believe. Yeah.
There's some, like you see that you're under a wing of professionals and still don't believe it. I'm like, how? Like, well, but it's good that, it's good to know that that's how people feel when they work.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe them, Car. We do in the company trainings for our employees who work with the clients on the psychology and communication, so the teams are prepared to calm down the client, so on top
That's
of
really
whatever
good.
they do. Yeah, so we really take care of that.
That's really important. Like more today, I feel like, especially with visa, especially with Indian clients, because the wait time is so long, Stanislav, there is a lot of anxiety built in. And
yeah, they have the traumatized.
Trauma. It's a trauma. It's definitely a trauma because, it's just unfair system, I feel like, towards them because, hey, the green card wait line is forever. I have my friends from Bangladesh or Nepal, and as soon as they get EB2 application with the company, within 2 years, 3 years, they get the green cards, and so now it's a little bit longer, sure, but then that's what I've seen the pattern in the last few years. And so Indians don't have that concept. They just know 15 years, 20 years. So when you get that, it's like it's a paradigm shift for them. So I think I have one more question, and I want to give you your time back. You mentioned O1 to EB1A. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, let's say somebody achieves the O1, but at the end of the day, O1 is a work permit. Like how long can I work in US, and then what are the renewals for O1, and then how would people go from O1 to EB1A? Is there a wait time for that?
Yeah, so absolutely, this is a great question. So first of all, O1 is granted for up to 3 years. To be working for the project. They call it event, the legal term. They actually just changed the law recently a little bit. Not changing the law. They never changed the law. They changed the policy. Okay. So they changed the policy now. It used to be 1 year extension but
Yeah.
1 year indefinitely. Now in the new policy, they said we actually can grant you up to 3 years extensions indefinitely, which is a good news, I think. So it kind of starts working like H1B little by little,
Yeah.
because with one difference that H1B has only one extension, O1 has unlimited extension.
Unlimited. Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, O1, you properly mentioned, is basically a work permit for the particular employer. Also could be transferred like H1B. However, once we have the evidentiary base for O1, that's the foundation for the future EB1A. And what does it mean in practical terms to get EB1A approved after O1 evidentiary-based foundation is to basically to deepen foundation, build the walls and the roof on it, okay? So getting more criteria, getting more achievements, getting more recognition, getting higher salaries. So there is no actual gap between when we got approved O1 with O1 and switching to EB1A. We can do it next day if we wanted to. However, from my practice, usually it takes about 6 to 12 months for the client to build more of the recognition and achievement by actually my strategy, which I developed to switch to EB1A. So we have enough to start rebuilding the petition, the memorandum, adding more things to it, and filing it for EB1A approval.
Got it. Okay, all right. So I like that. Like, so because I think that's the next path. If you're getting an O1, you should definitely go for an EB1A, and so I think because it just makes sense. It's silly not to go after it. I feel like, you're literally sitting on a, golden goose, I feel like, if you have an O1,
It's true, it's true.
So last things, Stanislav, to wrap it up, do you have any other comments about O1? Is there something maybe I missed asking question? If you can share that, would love to hear that from you.
Sure. Yeah, I have a few things to add. First of all, my team just sent me a question from YouTube because we have a restream to YouTube, and I believe there is a person from Indian origin staying in Canada on work permit is a good fit for O1. So basically, that's the question. Guys, it doesn't matter. Like I said in the beginning, it doesn't matter where you're from, where you're staying right now, and in what situation and what status. It does really for the purpose of O1 visa. The only thing that if a person is from Canada with Canadian citizenship, that makes and it could be Indian born, right, which is also important. But if there's a Canadian passport, we can skip the step with the embassy, because between US and Canada there is an agreement with approval of O1. A person just can pass the border with a piece of paper, basically, instead of a visa, which is the way it works for other countries. And my final thoughts and my final remarks on the stream. First of all, Ankar, thank you very much for inviting me, for having me here, because I love your energy and I love the energy of your people who follow you. So I kind of feel the synergy that we have on that matter. And as to the O1 visa, I think the main thing that stops someone from pursuing the O1 visa is the mental blocks. Okay, that's okay. Financial things could be the thing, right? But when you know that it's actually not an expense, it's an investment in your future and the future of your children and other generations, you don't look at it as an expense. You look at it as a must investment in your future, in yourself and everybody else. So guys, those who listen to me right now and you missed your lottery on H1B and maybe you're gonna miss one more this March, you must act, okay? So as long as I told you that you have the potential in your case after the free evaluation, as you heard, because Amkar is not gonna lie to you, right? Because you guys gonna go, right? So he needs to get that traction, that energy safe. So that's really true, that if there's a potential, that's the green light, okay? So remove all those mental barriers in your head and start working on your future right now.
Got it. So I'm gonna summarize, Stanislav, and guys, I understand like a lot of people asking me about the cost, so I will ask that question as well. But I want to summarize a couple of things. So anyone can apply for an O1 visa with, if you have a good profile, maybe masters, a couple of years of experience, or even a couple of years of experience in coming from other
Mhm.
country. But then an employer in US is really beneficial. If you don't have one, you can start your own company and sponsor yourself. And then so those are a few of the things. And then your team currently has a 99% approval rate, which is really good to know. So like like that's one of the questions I get. Omkar, I'm going to put 10,000, $15,000 in investment in this. I want to know what is the guarantee
Right.
or this thing. I don't know if I can discuss this, but I also heard that one of like your team is very you will even sue USCIS if they don't give you the thing in your direction. So I know you guys are very strong, and I like people. I'm very courageous. I'm not afraid. Stanislav, I'm that kind of a person, and I like to work with those kind of people who are bold.
Yes.
And I really like that approach that you have taken. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Like,
Yes,
I
of
know you
course.
guys are really bold. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are bullies. Okay, we're really bullies with USIS,
No,
and
USCIS is the biggest bully out there,
they
to
they
be honest.
are so
Yeah,
they made us bullies. We're not bullies by nature. Okay,
exactly. Yeah.
we are peaceful people. We choose peace by conscience,
Yeah.
but because they attack us, we have to fight back. So we are bullies,
Yeah.
and we bully for our clients,
Exactly.
and that's why that's another reason why we have such a high rate of approval, because we're gonna fight teeth and bone
Yeah.
to get that approval. So that's number one. Number two, the cost of this process.
Yeah.
We can start the process for as low as
Got it.
$11,000. Okay, so that's the lowest price, which I think is absolutely in the market,
Got
and
it.
the amount of resources we're giving for this is beyond.
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand the concerns about, oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
spend 11, then I need to pay the government fee, and maybe I have to pay PR agencies to get my records straight. Like it could be a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? But again, that the minute the second the petition is approved, that expense turned into investment. Okay,
Investment. Yeah.
and there is 99% chance of that happening. So I don't know what else can you do to encourage people still do this,
Yeah.
because my motivation behind it is less money but more the result.
Yeah.
And Amkar, I think we discussed this. I already made my money. I don't have to work. I can go on my vacation forever, okay, and everything is going to be good. So I'm doing this because I love it, and I love to get the
Yeah.
result for
You're good
people
at
and
it.
change
Yeah.
and change their lives, right? So and that's the policy behind each case that we take in the company. We more about the result than anything else. So that's why we have that goal of bringing 10,000 people to the US by 2030.
Good.
Right, and that's why we're doing it right now. Maybe one person say, hey, I want to do this, we get them approved, and it's one person closer to that 10,000 people goal, which we're now about 3,500. So we will be behind the schedule, so we need to speed it up.
So yeah. I'm sure you'll do it. I really like the things you stand for, and really appreciate you. Like, I really appreciate your time and taking time on your vacation. So thanks for that. Yeah, this is the time it usually works for me, lunch break at my office, So
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
So
perfect.
all right, I'm gonna wrap it up, Stanislav. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate. And so I would love to do an EB2 and IW in a month or so if you have some
Mhm.
time. Like that's
Absolutely, sure.
another my team I have a lot of questions around that. A lot of my civil engineers and like health analytics professor,
Civil
health and this
engineer
thing.
sounds like
Yeah,
a green card.
yeah, it is a green card.
Yes,
Like,
it
I'll
is
tell
a
you
green
something,
card.
Stanislav. I have a friend right now, around same years of experience, him and me. It's civil engineer, 7 years of experience, all with government. It's all
Mm,
government experience. And every day I'm like, dude, invest in an EB1A. I know people who will get it. Like the value, like, Stanislav, people will talk about investing half a million, $1 million
right.
into this thing and getting a green card, but they're afraid to
Buying
invest.
Tesla, buying
Yeah.
Tesla stocks.
Oh, yeah. Like I have people who are buying $100,000 Tesla Cybertrucks, but they are afraid to invest $30,000-$40,000 into their own
The
this thing. I have friends who
future.
have lost
Yes.
like $30,000, $100,000 in
Oh
stocks every
God.
year, but they're afraid to invest that into
Yeah.
their own this thing. And so I think there is a mindset difference. Like they don't look at it as an investment. But thanks for clearing that so that
Sure.
people do start looking at it. Because if I get an GC green card or an O-1, next 3 years, if I'm making $100,000, I just gave myself a $300,000 guarantee,
Absolutely.
right? So
Yeah.
if you get an O-1, so
Exactly.
definitely.
Exactly.
So yeah, guys. Again, last thing, link in the bio if you need the free evaluation, and then you can always reach out to them or me if you have any more questions. But thanks for doing this, Stanislav, and enjoy
My
your
pleasure.
vacation. Yeah,
All right,
cool.
Omkar. I'll talk to you
See
later.
you.
Happy New Year's.
Take care. Peace
Bye
out.
bye.
Yeah, bye.